on this episode of the People of Pearland podcast. That's the part I wanted to get to.
My dad went to prison to work there. He was a prison psychologist.
Oh, man.
So it always
give me a
gets
little bit of
people. It
heartburn.
always.
Stay tuned for more. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the next episode, the next episode of the People of Pearland podcast. That's already
a really difficult way to say it. The fourth episode.
Well, but remember, we're not numbering them.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Forget he said
never mind.
that. It's not the fourth episode.
Okay.
Do you know how many podcasts start off with we should make have a phrase, and then it's horrible by the 13th.
Yeah. Well,
so it's okay.
So we do have phrases, but I'm not going to tell you what they are.
Oh, sweet. I'm
Only
not
I
in
know
suspense,
them.
so it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I know. This is the least suspenseful podcast ever.
No drama.
So we're here, right?
We are.
MK.
Is everybody here? Thank you.
From our Parks and Recreation department. I don't actually know what your technical title is. Yeah, you're program.
I do programming. I'm youth development coordinator.
Youth development coordinator.
Yes.
I feel like I knew that probably was somewhere rattling.
That I'm always surrounded by childish people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
So welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yes,
we
of course.
appreciate you taking the time to answer our dumb questions.
Not all of them are dumb. Not all of them.
All of mine are pretty dumb.
Yeah.
So starting out, why don't you just tell us a little bit about, what you do for the city, how long you've been here, things like that. What's up?
What's my story?
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
it all began on a farm. And
it actually did, funny enough.
Really?
No, yeah, I'm actually from Kansas.
Oh my gosh.
So, you talk about a farm.
Yeah.
We're in Kansas. Wichita.
So I was born in central Kansas, but my family is actually from southwest Kansas.
Okay.
So where you look out on the prairie and it keeps on going.
Yeah.
There's no end in sight.
Are you familiar with Friends University?
I am.
Yeah. So I've been there, yeah. I've been in
Hey.
Wichita.
Nice. Is that the only city you've been in?
In Kansas?
Mm-hmm.
I've been in Kansas City.
Okay.
The Kansas side and the Missouri side.
Okay. Usually that's the way it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a nice city.
Yeah.
I haven't been anywhere else, I don't think, in Kansas.
It's one of those things, if you go, everybody talks about the big city.
Yeah.
And it's no.
It's a quaint little city.
The quaint
grass
is a
really
very
nice.
good
That's a good way to
definition.
say it.
If you're selling like a shack,
Yeah.
you look for quaint housing.
I don't know where this is, but I've also been to, there's a place called, I'm not joking, Camp Quaker Haven.
Is it from the Quaker religious?
Yeah. I went there in the
I feel so smart.
7th and 8th
I get
grade.
everything.
Yeah. But I don't remember where that is in Kansas. I want to say Wichita, but that doesn't sound right.
I don't know anything about the Quaker community there.
Yeah.
I know the Mennonites.
Well,
This is so interesting.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we are snowballing.
So,
Yeah.
got off track there.
So how'd you get to Texas?
There we go.
That's the part I wanted to get to.
My dad went to prison to work there. He was a prison psychologist.
Oh man,
so it always
give me a
gets
little bit of
people.
heartburn.
It always gets
that was
people.
good.
That was
that
really
Nice,
delivery
yes.
was fantastic.
Yes,
You've practiced that.
it's a lot of stories that
So
way.
your dad's a prison psychologist?
He was.
Wow. And did he what Texas prison system?
Yes, TDCJ.
Yeah. Huntsville area?
No, it was actually within a 20-mile radius of here, or I think of here, it's probably a 30-mile radius. There's 17 state prisons. A lot of people don't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I knew there were a bunch in Huntsville because I went to school there, and that's where they used to do the executions.
So there's a big one there.
Right. Well, there's 4 or 5.
Yeah. So, so he actually got assigned to work at either Darrington or Clemens, which is south of here. Mm-hmm. It's all like Lake Jackson, Rocheron area. So that's how we landed in South Texas.
Wow. And you were a kid?
2.
Okay. So you've been, you're basically from Texas.
Yes, I am basically from Texas.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Man, we went all the way back to the start, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
That's impressive. And so clearly you like it here. You
yes,
stuck
I
around.
do. Yeah. No, I actually was from the area, and I'm from Angleton. Mm-hmm. So growing up, Angleton and Pearland were the same size.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So it really was funny.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's still so much growth potential going that direction. Like they're projecting
there
is
now
going to be massive. When they bring 99 around, especially, it's going to be huge.
Yes.
That's cool. So do you still live in the area? Or
I still live in Angleton.
Okay. Oh, gotcha.
And that's where I had my first municipality experience.
Yeah.
So,
have you always worked in parks departments, or you?
No, actually, I've always worked for like government entities, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. So I worked for Alvin Community College, was my first quote unquote professional job, with student activities.
Okay.
So I was assistant coordinator for student activities at Alvin Community College, which was very difficult in itself because it's a community college. There's no really students that live on campus.
Right.
But from college, I was a lifeguard in college, and then I was a pool manager after that. And so that gave me that experience. So when a job opened up within my hometown, I jumped on it.
Right.
And it just happened to be Parks and Rec. So what put me over the edge was the fact that, I have aquatics experience.
Yeah, yeah.
So
you worked at for the Parks Department in Angleton.
Yes.
But at the pool or managing?
Yeah, so it was brand new. Rec center just opened up. And I was like, wow. Like it was the neatest thing that Angleton is to this day still seeing.
Yeah.
A very nice rec center. And had great leadership that hired me in, extremely knowledgeable people. And I love them to death. It's how I fell in love with Parks and Rec. I was also hired in 2 days before the summer camp kicked off.
Oh my.
And I was told I was in charge of it.
Oh my gosh.
So it was kind of a
wild.
learn by the seat of my pants
Yep.
type thing of what to do.
So like every other job in local government.
Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
We like challenges and creative problems.
Yeah. So after a year of working there, then I was recreation superintendent.
Yep. And so how long have you been with Pearland Parks and Recreation?
Since December 10th of 2007.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't even do that math in my head. It's 15 years.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So clearly you...
Sorry. I was like trying to do the math and I couldn't. All right. Anyways.
It took me a minute. Yeah. And the fact that you remember the date is like...
I do.
Blows my mind.
Do. Because getting the call that they wanted me to go take the drug test, it was like beyond like, thank God.
And so we had a new rec center at the time.
No,
I guess it wasn't even built yet.
The bond had just passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in October, early November, the bond had just passed to build it.
Okay.
To do the rec center, to do Hickory Slough, to do the nature center.
I'm trying to remember, was the Southdown Park, was that all there? Yeah,
that was all there. That's actually where I was.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I was stationed there first. So what is now the Pearland, dang it.
Oh, I know.
The West Pearland Community Center. Is the West Side Event Center. So, and it was quite new when I was there.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, the investment in lifestyle features in Pearland has been very intentional. It seems like, and I think that's a really important part of what makes community.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And the being able to quantify that, right, and say like, this is a really important thing. It's not to me, it's not as easy as like you see a police officer or a firefighter, and that's a very like tactile, very tangible thing.
Yes.
But if you removed the lifestyle features, right, the rec center, the programming, the spaces,
the enhancements,
the
parks,
right?
Especially I think quarantine
Oh,
definitely opened people's eyes as to what.
So I wanted to talk about this specifically because it seems like the pandemic hit your group way differently than a lot of other people, right?
Yeah.
Because the programming just basically.
We had to restructure how we thought how to do things.
Right.
And we had to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that sets us apart, and not just recreation, but also parks and recreation from all the other city departments, is that we're in competition
with private industry, with
industries, with nonprofits, with everybody. Like we have to sell ourselves, and stay relevant and prove that, look, we are truly here for the community.
Yeah.
And
which
beg people to walk through our doors.
Yeah.
So people have no choice when water bill comes or like what ambulance comes or a fire happens. Like it doesn't matter.
Right.
They have no say in that.
But they can choose what gym they're going to go to.
Yes,
yeah, for sure.
And what their recreation looks like and what their leisure time.
And if they're going to attend our special events.
Yes.
And,
or take our trails and ride the bikes and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
So how do you, what does your process look like to maintain relevance and to adapt to a post-COVID environment? Like what do you do to keep yourself fresh?
So I think the main thing, what's really difficult, is starting new programming.
Yeah.
That's always difficult for us. That's why I definitely love all the back work and the hard work that we did back in like 2010, 2011, building our camps.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the...
Can you talk about those camps for a quick second? Because I want to get into what those are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we have 2 separate day camps that in 2009, we started a camp for 11 to 14-year-olds. So it's supposed to be a teen camp, but it's really just half and half. The tweens and teens, and what is seen as those with attitude. Those are the ages that we fit in.
Right.
It was an idea that actually happened from Hurricane Ike. Because it took Hurricane Ike actually took out our community center, took out City Hall.
Right.
Which
in the annex
then they had to the current annex of City Hall is the community center.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember when the library was there.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Parks was headquartered out of the where community development.
I have home videos doing gymnastics with the Parks crew in the annex from 93, 94, something.
Yikes.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. Good times.
Is it? But no, it probably was. So that put the specialist that was over the community center kind of like twiddling thumbs and trying to be innovative and I don't have a center to program out of. How can I help?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it was brought up that we could start a camp. Mind you, the West Side Event Centers where I was, that was fine. I had a job. We were like full steam ahead. But I had camp experience from basically being thrown into the deep end in my previous job.
Sure. It's amazing how that works out.
Yeah, it is. And it's amazing that I love it so much. So we came up with the idea to create a camp with a purpose. And that was Camp Mahalo, which Mahalo, I truly was going through Google Translate and I was thinking what would be really cool in Hawaiian, because I think Hawaii, I think summer, I think it's really neat. So I did like responsibility, I did fairness, I did respect in Hawaiian. So there's Mahalo is thrown out a whole lot more now that I hear on in the movies and everything that I'm like, oh, yep. okay, they're just saying thank you, but it really means respect in Hawaiian. Whereas the kids from Pearland have visited Hawaii and came back and said they had mahalo on trash cans.
You got to respect the trash cans.
It's gratitude. Anyways, so that started in 2009. And it was basically just like, we'll throw it out there. We'll see if it bites. And people bit really hard at it.
That's awesome.
And so we've operated with Camp Mahalo for, I guess,
13 years.
13 years. Yeah.
Wow,
we just wrapped our 12th year because in 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
But you did a virtual camp. I mean, you did like
camp at home.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it was like
great.
It was the most easygoing summer of all.
I loved editing those videos. That was a good time.
Yeah.
It was,
and y'all got the clips that were like, "Hey, go ahead and put this in."
Right.
We'll keep the bloopers because that was just us filming with an iPad.
Yep.
But and then, like I said, in 2009, I was over at the West Side, and then the position of youth development coordinator came up, and I jumped. I love working with youth.
So what were you doing at the West Side Event Center?
Everything.
Yeah. Okay.
So there was kind of like a restructuring of recreation in 2013 where it's like, okay, this is your niche.
Yep.
So you program, if you were health and fitness, you programmed all over. There were no boundaries of location.
Right.
It's just everywhere. So prior to that, we had remote sites.
Yep.
So we had a programmer at each site,
Right.
and we handled everything from photography, oil painting, step aerobics, early childhood, youth programs. Yeah.
Well, and I have to imagine that John Branson was probably influential in migrating that, right? Making the decisions to.
Actually, it was Michelle.
And Michelle, right?
Yes.
That's right.
And the reason I mentioned that is because he always talked a lot about the intentionality of spaces, right? Like Hickory Slough Sportsplex, Shadow Creek, the sports complex at Shadow Creek Ranch, the rec center, Independence being more of an event space, because we have gotten feedback, people that remember the old days of Independence Park. Where there's a soccer field and a place to play football, and but we have other spaces for that are purpose built, right?
Yes,
and like Hickory Slough doubles as drainage, and I mean it's we don't get enough credit for the thoughtfulness to make
purpose driven
things, right, and have people designed specifically for the best programming, right?
Yes.
And so selling that, that idea and getting credit for it so that you can get a little pat on the back, I think is an important part of it.
Definitely.
I want more people to see that.
No, yeah. Well, one, John Branson is one of the greatest leaders, in my opinion. Whenever he speaks, you shut up. And you listen. And then also having Michelle as when I was hired in as the assistant director, one of the most knowledgeable, passionate people about recreation, in my opinion. Yeah, was amazing.
John's the one that hired me here.
Hey, doesn't it feel good?
Yeah.
I will say I get tongue-tied around him. I've created words because it's like I get mixed up. It was actually about Hurricane Ike and having photos. And he's like, "Did you have them?" And I was like, "No. My computer crashed. I lost all of them." He's like, "Oh, that's too bad." And I wanted to say, yes, it's very testing and it's very frustrating. And I created frustested. And I just stood there and I just walked away.
I love that you remember that.
Oh, because I was so nervous.
Frustrated?
Yes, it's very frustesting.
Frustesting. I want to use that in a sense.
Yes.
Frustesting.
Yes,
that's fantastic.
To speak to your director at the time, and he was like, "Yeah," and he's typing on his computer, and then hearing what came out of my mouth, and I was like, and him. just kind of stop and look up, and I was like, I'm out of here. And I just walked away. It's like, oh my God. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's my favorite story of the day.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Wow. Hey, yeah. But no, yeah. So we had more purpose driven. We had more focus on how we were serving the community and what we were going to serve the community.
Sure.
Versus just kind of having our hands in a whole lot of pots and hoping that we're doing good.
Right.
So going into youth development, I wanted to restructure everything else. So in 2010, I proposed that we had like a kidtastic camp, which was, there wasn't a lot of passion behind it, I guess you could say. And I really wanted to have a camp with a purpose for the kids. And with that age group of 6 to 10-year-olds, our whole idea was that we're just going to keep them active.
Yeah.
So
that's Kids in Action?
Kids in Action.
Well, that's
there you go.
So Camp Kaya.
There you go.
Yeah, so Camp Kaya. That's what it is. What I will say is that as a branding tool, also don't put periods after the K, the I, and the A.
You know, some of these things we have to learn.
Yes.
The hard way.
Y'all weren't here at the time.
Right,
so
you put them in and then you go, oh, no, that doesn't work.
Or parents see it and go, how insensitive of you.
No.
And thinking, what? I don't.
Oh, man.
Man.
Sometimes you have to go through that whole process just to find out, like, oh.
Yes.
Yep.
And it stays with you.
Yeah.
For sure. Yes.
We've had a few since I've been here that I've been fortunate, and nobody that works here anymore, thankfully, that, like, you know, the first round of creative comes out, and I'm like, that's not going to.
Yep.
I know you're too close to see it, but no, we're
fly.
not doing that. So, you know, it happens.
Yeah.
We're human beings.
That's right.
We're trying new things. We're trying to grow and evolve. So Camp Kids in Action is it's still going too, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Stronger than ever.
It was one of those things, I think, we'd been operating it for like 3 years, and in 2010, 2011, we were like pushing hardcore marketing and doing the little roadside signs and pushing it everywhere we could. And then we started making registration really early because that's what all the big camps do.
Right.
So we opened it in February, and it was like, okay. And I tracked it from like week 1 or 1 week after registration, 2 weeks after registration, 3 weeks after registration. And I still do that. But around 2014, instead of doing week 1, week 2, we do first 15 minutes, second 15 minutes, third. Yeah. Because it fills up so fast. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the sign of success.
How many spots? How many spots?
So we have 70 in Camp Kaya and we have 20 in Camp Mahalo.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
That's impressive.
And we did just do, I guess it was last year we did a rebranding exercise on it.
So
was that 2 years ago?
That was 2 years ago with Camp Kaya.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be in 2020.
Right. And then COVID.
And then,
Yeah.
Which I mean, I like it's still a very fun, that's one of the things that I think we enjoy from a communications perspective about parks is, you know, every sort of department has its tone of voice. And, you know, the police department, you want to be authoritative, and the fire department, you know, you want to be serious. Parks, we get to have fun with.
Right.
That's our job.
And it allows us to flex some more of that creativity, right? And especially on the, you know, rec center memberships, the programming, rental spaces, things like that. For communications and marketing people, like that's a sweet spot. When we can be creative and we're trying to sell stuff,
tell a story visually that is a lot of fun.
And so you know, it's always fun to get to participate in that with y'all, especially.
Heck yeah. We love it when you show up. We're like, sweet.
We're glad that we're liked.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. Definitely. But I think that in after COVID, one of the funniest things was Carrie calling me, I think in April of 2020 and saying, "Are you sitting down?" Mm-hmm. Yes. Why? We're going to have to cancel. No. And I'm like, because we had opened registration
right
before COVID hit. Well, I don't know. We don't know when COVID actually hit,
right.
but whatever. Before we shut down, and we were all full. And so we had to then call everybody and say, "Hey."
So going through that experience, is there anything you still use now that you sort of adapted to during the COVID time? Or like, I know you did a lot with like virtual programming and
I think what definitely opened us up was one of the big things that we did and was proposed last year was to make a video to send out to parents.
Right.
Because the visuals are very important.
Yeah.
And we were lucky to have that. That was a big thing. Readapting how we communicated with parents. But the kids themselves, instead of doing a lot of big groups where one child is lost in this sea of kids.
Not actually lost.
Right.
No. Yes, you're correct. No.
We don't lose children.
No. We don't do that.
We have little tracking devices on them. It's good to work for the city. No. But that they don't feel lost.
Right.
In the sea of a lot of kids is that we do keep it more team or using
small group. Yeah.
Using the terminology of bubbles.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that enhances that experience for the children, especially, and it probably makes it more rewarding from the leaders and instructors' perspective too.
Yeah, for our counselors. Yeah.
That's a big job. I mean, that's a lot to.
Oh yeah. Could you imagine being stuck with? Like, and I'm not saying like
2 kids,
10
and
kids.
I'm exhausted just hearing.
And these are other people's kids.
Right.
There's certain rules you have to abide by with other people's kids.
So that brings up a question that I had. The instructors or the counselors, I'm sure they do some sort of like youth protection training. There's like in Scouts we have 2 deep leadership at all times.
There's a whole onboarding thing for that. Right?
Oh yeah. We do at least 44 hours of training.
Yeah.
So,
goodness gracious.
Yeah. So it's a 2-week process just for summer camp.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was where that's the learning being thrown in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, next year I'm going to be hiring. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing this.
Yep.
And what is difficult between managing staff versus camp is that all of camp comes in at the exact same time. They go through the exact same training. They know each other.
Yep.
I have a checklist, everything, versus staff that could come in randomly throughout the time, may not get the same education or knowledge or experiences. That can make it very difficult. But that's why I love camp.
Yeah.
It is a whole lot of experience just shoved into three months.
Neat.
So yeah, I love it. But yeah, we go through about a 2-week training.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sign up early.
And if you're willing to work hard, apply to work camp. Yeah. So we not only have camp counselors, but we also have what are called the CITs, the counselors in training. So those are anywhere from 13 to 15-year-olds.
Preparing them for
Yes. So they go through the training.
That's awesome.
So the first week of training, the CITs are not in. The second week of training, they are in, and they're there for 8 hours a day, like going through everything that the counselors go through. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and we just have a certificate saying thank you so much for working 427 hours this whole summer.
Golly.
Yeah.
So they're unpaid volunteers.
Oh my gosh.
Moly.
Yes.
I don't think I realized that.
Yeah.
Wow.
They are fantastic.
But
they're held at the same expectations.
Sure.
If they're yelling at
absolutely.
kids, if they're pulled immediately.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine that's good experience for them. I'm sure it's something that goes on their resumes as they're preparing for school.
Like I said, we do. I do all the certificates I can. I will write letters for them.
Wow.
Vouch for them, and then I'll tell them, hey, next year, you'll be of age.
Cool.
You got a job.
So we always like to wrap these up with, we're always curious as to why people, do what they do. Everybody's slightly different, like I feel like we have so many employees, but everybody's so special, and every job is so unique, right? We don't just have warm bodies and seats. We have, people that are really driven towards a thing. So why do you drive up here from Angleton every day? What's your motivation?
Well, the funny thing is that the degree that I got was very independent, supposed to be like start my own thing and get going. But I needed medical insurance and I needed a steady paycheck. So I went for a job that had it, that gave me some experience, but then I jumped at the opportunity to be with Parks and Rec. Yeah. So having the job that, and I feel weird because I remember hearing in college of like, find a job that you don't have to work. Right. Like,
find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So
by the way, I've worked very hard. I will say that, but I love, like that. I love the work that I do and I believe in the work I do. Yep. And just, it's not a necessity, but life really sucks without recreation.
Sure.
So I want to be able to provide that.
It is, and I'm going to start making them. It's a necessity. It's a necessity, right? Yeah. Yes. Because that the health and well-being, especially now, right? When people have been so stressed for so long,
the social engagement,
freedom, and the release of just that anxiety that parks can bring.
Yes.
And programming and that engagement piece. I think that's crucial to our well-being as a community.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I look at everything and I think, what other job is there?
Right.
That it's not that we smile every day, but our job is to create smiles. So
that's huge.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah. In case you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
It's starting to pick up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming along and playing our game. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Is there anything else we need to know about Mary Kate?
I'm very curious as to how did y'all get in this?
What in
y'all's job?
In doing
these
this?
seats with microphones in front of us?
Right.
I've never met a stranger.
Yeah.
That's
true. You can talk to a wall.
Yeah. I talk to myself all the time. Going the quick backstory. My sister went to Sam Houston State University for a degree in radio and television. And I went up there to visit her and I'm like, I could do this. I couldn't get into school anywhere else. Yeah. And so I got a degree in radio and television. And I spent felt like a lot of money on that education.
Yeah.
And so I was bound and determined to use it. I started radio sales, and then I got into advertising and marketing and marketing communication strategy. And ultimately it got me back here. So I'm from Pearland originally. And so the opportunity to take the professional skills that I'd acquired over time and apply them to the community that raised me and shaped me, right, was too good to pass up, right?
Yeah.
And in that satisfaction of being able to work professionally in a way that I feel I can see the impact that I have, right? Mm-hmm. Good, bad, or otherwise.
Yeah.
I can see it in real time. And so, it was a sort of a weird path to get back around here, but that's what it was.
I think mine's similar to yours a little bit. I was right before I started working for the city of Pearland, I was doing my own thing, had my own business, doing video, creative work, design, photography, all that kind of stuff. And I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with my wife in Austin, and we had a kid that was on the way, and Austin wasn't getting cheaper by any means. And COVID was a month away, which, nobody could have anticipated. But it was kind of a reality check of being like, okay, we need health insurance.
Yep.
Like we need those essentials. Never imagining that I could be a creative in a governmental setting, right?
Yeah.
And so
that was the hardest thing for me to get along with.
Right. Yeah. And so when my wife, she was looking for jobs, I was looking for jobs. She's like, "How about this one back in Pearland, where you're from?" And I was like, "I don't know, government, that just doesn't really." And so when I came and interviewed, and I met the team at the time, I was like, "Oh yeah, these are all like me. These are my people for sure."
So my goofy grin across the table was like,
"That's right, yeah." And so it's been fun. Yeah.
Well, in our little group, we're very eclectic, but like parks, we're one of the departments that gets to have some of that creative flexibility
for sure,
because we need people to pay attention to what we're saying, especially when we get into times of emergency.
Right.
And it's always a balancing act, especially now, especially in this climate that we're in, where information moves so fast and there's so much misinformation out there, right?
Yes.
Being a clear and consolidated and authoritative source of truth, right, that people know and trust and will pay attention to is increasingly difficult.
Yes.
And so it's things like this. It's that, that's the thing that's constantly, how do we get people to pay attention?
Yeah.
Right.
And what mediums and
yeah. And so I mean, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't do anything differently.
Same. It's been a wild 2 years since I've been here, but it's awesome. I've learned a lot. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So
that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you, MK. This was awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking.
For sure.
Do you want to come host one of these? We'll teach summer camp. We can
we can swap.
Yeah, you're gonna take that on?
No, I'm not going to do that.
Because I can host one of these, no problem.
Easy.
All right.
Awesome.
We'll see y'all next time.